Welcome to First Mover, your first global look at today's action in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital asset space. I'm your host, Christine Lee, and joining me are my co-host, CoinDesk's Managing Editor of Global Capital Markets, Lawrence Lewitton, as well as Managing Director of International Content, Emily Parker. Good morning, Emily and Lawrence.
Good morning. Hey, good morning. How are you?
Very good, and so is Bitcoin. Let's have a live look. Right now, the CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index currently trading at $50,914. Bitcoin is up 5.5% over the past 24 hours. And the CoinDesk Ether price, ETX index right now at $4,338. ETH is flying high of over 7%. The new DFX CoinDesk's DeFi index is at 441 points. DeFi also soaring over 9%. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as a leader in crypto news, events, and data. So, Lawrence, we saw that crypto markets were slaughtered over the weekend, but now we're seeing a rebound.
And if you look at the leveraged markets, so the perpetual futures open interest, which is the contracts that we have in perpetual futures markets, which allow people to leverage, in some cases as much as 100 to 1. Those contracts, some of them got cleared out, but we're still at levels that we were back in late September, early October. So, and we were at these prices back then. So we're it's a slight reset, if you will, over the past few days when we liquidated some of those contracts and the price went down. So now we're kind of starting again. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks, whether or not we repeat what happened. Or if that leverage that's still out there starts to get liquidated even further, if somebody in the cash market once again goes out and sells more. But we're still above 50-day moving averages, things like that. We're doing quite well for Bitcoin. Let's see what goes on.
All right, and another news item we have is the Craig Wright case, and both lawyers in both cases representing Craig Wright and the Climate Estate claiming victory. We have Rivera Mestre LLP, the lawyer for Craig Wright, saying that we're pleased after 4 years of intense litigation and 7 days of jury deliberation in a case that was thought to be unwinnable, the jury ruled for Dr. Craig Wright, aka Satoshi Nakamoto, was not business partners with Dave Kleiman. And then we have the lawyer for the Climate Estate, Vel Friedman, tweeting that the Kleiman versus Wright update. We are incredibly gratified the jury found Craig Wright has to pay our client, W&K, $100 million for the Bitcoin-related assets he stole. This is a great win for our client and for justice. Emily, very confusing results.
I think that's the right way to put it. A very confusing trial, very confusing results. Everybody seems to be claiming some sort of victory here, but yeah, it's been quite a roller coaster. And
I don't think the litigation is over. I mean, Craig has to pay $100 million into W&K Info Defense, but I mean, he's part owner, his ex-wife is part owner. There's going to be some litigation potentially into the ownership of who gets what, even in that company. So the drama continues.
What if his ex-wife is Satoshi?
Satoshi is female. All right. Well, CoinDesk's annual most influential of 2021 list is out. Every year, CoinDesk gathers votes and our editorial team selects the most influential people in the crypto industry. Joining us to reveal the results is CoinDesk Managing Editor for Features and Opinion, Ben Schiller. Hello there, Ben.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Who are the winners?
Hey.
All right, so we have a very good list this year. This is something that CoinDesk does every year. We're recognizing the 50 people who defined the year in crypto, and this is chosen, as you say, by staff and by readers in a survey. And the list this year includes Sam Bankman-Fried, who is the CEO of the runaway success story that is FTX. Then we have Roham Gareg-Gazlu, CEO of Dapper Labs. Cynthia Lummis, who is the US Senator of Wyoming. We have the Taproot Developer Group. We have Katie Hown, who is a general partner at Andreessen Horowitz, which is a very important VC firm. We have Do Kwon of Terraform Labs, Terracoin, and Jack Mallers of the incredibly important story this year of El Salvador and Strike and the Lightning Network. We have Elon Musk, who is a great influencer of Dogecoin and many other crypto controversies. Gary Gensler, who's an important figure in the world of regulation, obviously, and Trung Nguyen, who is the CEO of Axie Infinity and really the unacknowledged founder of that play-to-earn juggernaut in the Philippines and in Southeast Asia.
So Ben, Ben, is there any underlying theme, anything connecting all of these? This is a very diverse group of people in terms of what they do and the like. So what is the underlying, is there anything connecting any of them?
Yeah, so I mean, in a way, there isn't sort of a pattern to the list, and the point of the list is to really encompass the full range of activity in this industry and in this space. So it's interesting, this is the 8th year that CoinDesk has done this list, and if you look back at the list that we were putting out in 15 and 16, they're very different from today. I mean, back then it was all about Bitcoin, it was about altcoins, and maybe a bit about Ethereum, and today it's about regulation, it's about play to earn, it's about gaming, it's about sports, it's about the conversation in Washington, D.C. over crypto. So you can see in this list the kind of the maturing and the progress of this industry across many different aspects. And it's no longer just about money, it's about culture, it's about politics, and it's about really culture, really crypto becoming central to the conversation in a number of different ways.
Ben, was there anybody on this top 10 list who was controversial, or do you think there's some controversy around, or there was some difficulty in putting them on this list for whatever reason?
Definitely, and I think Elon Musk would be a name that we definitely considered whether he should really be on this list, because he has sometimes been a great friend of crypto and has definitely helped to establish Dogecoin and push the price of Bitcoin up. And at the same time, he's been quite critical of aspects of the industry, particularly Bitcoin's environmental footprint. And he's not necessarily a friend of the industry, so we kind of thought about whether he should really be on there. But this is a list of influence, and he's undeniably influential. A single tweet from him can move the market, so that's why he's on this list.
So Ben, we see a portrait drawn of Elon Musk there. Maybe you can go into some of the artists. From what I understand, they're minting NFT portraits of the winners as we speak on Super Rare and Foundation.
That's right. So we commissioned 10 lovely artists to create portraits of each of these people on the top 10 list. And each of those artists, as well as putting their artwork on our website when we publish the articles, are also minting NFTs at Super Rare and Foundation. And if we go through some of those names, very recognizable one is...
well, we see Elon Musk there right now.
Oh, Elon Musk is on there. And
Gary Gensler here.
It's Gary Gensler. And those are from Sky Golpe, did Gary Gensler. He's an Italian artist and a very fine artist. Sam Bankman-Fried is an interesting one from Pindar van Armen. He's a artist who uses these crazy kind of robots to create these sort of pointillist portraits of people. That's very interesting. And some of the other ones, Katie Hound was drawn by Sasha Katz, and the Bitcoin Taproot Development Group, which we're publishing today, is from an artist called Stella Bell, and she's from the Midwest, in the United States. And
I saw with the Gary Gensler portrait, there was a faceless man. Is there an explanation of why that is?
Yeah, that's interesting. So one of the motifs with Sky Golpe is that he draws these faceless characters, and we thought that was appropriate because Gensler is this kind of this faceless bureaucrat, and it's interesting that the crypto industry kind of sees in Gensler what it wants to see. It sees either a great champion of the industry, someone who's going to save the industry from the kind of continued ambiguity around regulation that we've seen in the last few years. And then other people, you can make a different case to say he's actually against the industry and not been very helpful in the last few months while he's been SEC chair. And so that's the idea behind the portrait. He's kind of a faceless bureaucrat who can see whatever you want to see, really.
Ben, I want to go back to that Elon Musk portrait there. I mean, what am I looking at here?
You're looking at a very enigmatic, creative, sort of impish person who again, is kind of larger than life. And that's what we're really getting at with these portraits. And the idea with these portraits is really to have an interpretation from an artist about this person. We all know these people very well from huge amounts of publicity that they get, and you've seen their picture a million times, but this is an interpretation from an artist about that person.
Was there anything in particular, like, we mentioned before some of the names, were any of them, I don't want to say surprises, because of course you've seen this list prior to it going out, but were there any names there that got maybe more votes? There was a voting process at one point than you would have expected.
I mean, it's important to recognize with this list that we're dealing with people who haven't been nominated before. So these are all names that haven't appeared on previous most influential lists. And normally in the voting, some very big names like Charles Hodgkinson, for instance, from Cardano, get most of the votes because they have very kind of animated, energetic groups of fans for those projects. I would say of this list, the most kind of popular people are probably Malas from Strike, Do Kwon as well, and Elon Musk to a certain extent as well was very popular in the voting.
Ben, if you just had to choose personally of this top 10 list, which of these people is kind of compelling or intriguing to you?
Well, I think the Axie Infinity story to me was one of the highlights of the year because it's a non-US story. It's taking crypto into a completely new space of gaming. And it was also almost an economic development story in the Philippines. We had a number of stories on this on CoinDesk. And the play-to-earn phenomenon is a big deal in gaming, and it's going to have a big impact going forward. There are many successive projects to the Axie Infinity project that are now sort of in train and coming up. And I think this is the first of many of these type of projects that we're going to see, and it's really going to reshape the gaming industry.
Yep, and those profiles are live right now on CoinDesk.com. For wanting to understand the money that goes to these auctions for these profiles of people in crypto, some of it goes to charity, but 100% goes to the artist, correct?
No, so the NFTs are being minted on Super Rare and Foundation, and 20% of the sale from those NFTs will go to charity, and a charity of the choice of the artist. So we're working with Giving Block, which is a philanthropic platform, and they're arranging for the donation to go to a charity of the choice of the artist.
All right. Well, Ben, thanks so much for joining us and sharing us the winners of this year's most influential. All right.
Thanks very much.
You can read more on CoinDesk.com. That was CoinDesk Managing Editor for Features and Opinion, Ben Schiller. Watch First Mover for more interviews this week with most influential 2021 winners, and visit CoinDesk.com to see the complete list of 50 winners, including honorable mentions, all of their portraits, and more information about the artists, the NFTs, and auction. Coming up, checking in on Asia and a crypto markets update with Huobi Brokerage.
When we say we want to reimagine money, it turns out we're going to the heart of the matter. Imagination has always been a key part of what money is. Imagination, in the form of cultural creativity, is also something that the cryptocurrency community has in spades. And to the outsider, that can be a reason to dismiss it as frivolous, as something built on nothing. To dismiss it for these reasons, though, is to ignore that all money is imagined.
Time now for the daily forecast, an update on what's happening in the Asia crypto markets. Here's Angie Lau of Forecast News.
Welcome to the Daily Forecast, December 7th, 2021. I'm Angie Lau, Editor-in-Chief of Forecast News, covering all things blockchain. Well, the crypto capitulation even ensnared Korean game developers. Stock prices had been on a roll after recent moves into both NFTs and the metaverse, but the weekend's crypto flash crash dragged them down in its wake. We're going to take a look at market moves and a whole lot more coming up. Let's get you up to speed from Asia to the world. Well, let's kick off with some of the top stories coming out of Asia today. First up, Japanese regulators are seeking to impose limits on domestic stablecoins. Now, the country's financial services agency is reportedly planning a legislative proposal that would restrict stablecoin issuance to banks and wire transfer companies only. And stablecoin transaction intermediaries, such as wallet providers, may also be scrutinized under tighter anti-money laundering regulations. Meanwhile, over in India, Kotak Mahindra, a leading Indian private bank, has partnered with the crypto exchange WazirX. That's according to the Economic Times. Kotak has become the first big banking name to embrace crypto despite ongoing uncertainty over crypto regulations in the country. And that's a pretty big signal, and it might be the start of potentially something bigger. You can find out those stories and more at forecast.news. Meanwhile, over to the markets now. The fallout from Bitcoin's weekend price plunge hit Korean game stocks. While many developers' stock prices surged after they announced new ventures in NFTs in the metaverse recently, big names like Kakao and WeMade have now followed NFTs and game-related tokens south. Forecast News' Danny Park has more on the market action.
WeMade, the creator of global play-to-earn NFT game Mirror 4, saw its stocks tumble 10% on Monday in Asia. Compared to its November peak, the price is now down more than a whopping 30%. And Gameville, who announced plans to construct an NFT exchange in September, fell 14% on Monday, while Kakao Games and Cumtus, who are both developing NFT platforms, also fared badly. The stock drops follow many pulling their money out of play-to-earn tokens such as Decentraland's Mana and Axie Infinity's AXS coin, both of which have fallen over 20% in the last week. Kim Dae-jong, professor at Sejong University, told Forecast News he isn't worried about this current market dip, saying investment in NFTs and the metaverse will continue nevertheless because they have original value. For Forecast News, I'm Danny Park.
Rug pulls are becoming increasingly common in the crypto sphere. Money floods into a token project only for investor dollars to suddenly disappear. And that's exactly what happened just last month to thousands of investors of the Squid Game-inspired token, which traded on decentralized exchanges PancakeSwap and Dodo, and they were left empty-handed when developers left the project. So as new projects come online, how does one make sure that rug doesn't get pulled out from under your feet? David Lighton, co-founder of Lithium Finance, the man with the DeFi download, is here to shed some light on that for us. Good to see you again, David.
Thank you for having me, Angie. It's great to be here.
David, so many new people are coming into crypto. The chances of someone getting caught up in a scam are also rising. So how does one minimize this risk? What does one need to know?
I think if you want to be an investor, you really have to think and act like an investor. And so that means due diligence. Research the founders. What does the product do? What's the white paper like? Remember that Squid Coin had a really conspicuously bad one. And maybe my favorite, are there any other top investors in the cap table? And finally, don't be fooled just because a token claims to have utility or a product. Squid Coin made that claim and it wasn't true.
So what are the red flags, though, to look out for? What are the clues?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing to look for is a social media presence that's excessively promoting, or sometimes they say shilling the coin. For example, discussing the price of the token or how much money it's going to make you is a major red flag.
Always do your homework. Thanks, David. That is the DeFi download for you. And that's the daily forecast from our vantage point right here in Asia. For more, visit forecast.news. I'm Editor-in-Chief Angie Lau. Until the next time.
The Crypto Markets Update is presented by Grayscale, the world's largest digital currency asset manager.
All right, let's have a live look at Bitcoin. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XVX index currently trading at 50,000. 920. Bitcoin is up about 5.5% over the past 24 hours. And the CoinDesk Ether price, ETX index right now at $4,364. ETH is climbing about 7.5%. Looking at the DFX, CoinDesk's DeFi index is at 441 points. DeFi is soaring over 10%. Taking a look at our crypto markets guest is Victor Wei, director at Hong Kong-based Huobi Brokerage. Hello there, Victor. Thanks for joining us. So we did see a huge crypto markets crash over the weekend. Looks to be rebounding. Was it just a minor correction, or what's happening here?
So, from my opinion, there's like a macro phenomenon on the whole market in the larger scale. So it is also a good chance for us to test our newly launched lending service. We have our risk control and margin call went very smoothly, and that is also a pretty good for us to test our new brokerage service.
Thank you. Just to go back to the market for a moment, when you talk about macro issues, do you mean that Bitcoin is basically responding in a similar way to the stock market, for example, to concerns about inflation? Or I'm just curious to how you see the connection between Bitcoin and the stock market.
I wouldn't say that the Bitcoin has a high correlation with the stock market, but in a certain aspect, I would say it's if the situation hits the overall market, there will be certain reaction in the same way, but in the how soon it will react or how the volatility moves, it doesn't exactly along with the stock market.
So Victor, we had a situation over the weekend, a rumor that is with Evergrande once again having potentially problems with paying its bonds. Is that what you mean by the sense of macro? Then, if it's not stuff that's going on in terms of macroeconomics, but other issues such as the lending situation in China, do you think that that's having an effect on Bitcoin prices? Concerns about whether or not borrowers in China, particularly real estate borrowers, can make their payments, and whether or not that would have an effect on stablecoins?
I wouldn't say that would be a direct relation to in there, because you can see that mainland China is actually banned to invest in crypto. But also, for sure, the liquidity issue will be affecting, I would say, the asset portfolio in overall way. So that definitely have some impact in there. But again, crypto is not allowed in mainland China, so I don't see that there's a direct relation in there.
So actually, Victor, that leads to my next question. So is crypto just dead in China right now? Is it over? And is Huobi operating there at all?
So Huobi, we do not onboard any mainland China clients. So for us, it is so any element with China, mainland China, we are currently not allowed to engage any kind of business with them. But if the crypto is totally dead in China, that's not something I am so in a position to say.
So you have a lending platform, you're lending crypto that's been under a lot of scrutiny with regulators in the United States, for example. Are you able to operate in the United States? And if not, are you looking to operate in the U.S. anytime soon?
Not at the current situation. So what Huobi Brokerage or Huobi Tech aim to do is to provide a crypto virtual asset service in the regulatory compliance way. So you can see we invest in a license for several years, obtaining the Type 4, Type 9 license, also the trust license in Hong Kong. So currently we are more focusing on the clients with Asian in Asia or with the global Asian presence. For US, we do on our Huobi tech level, we do have the trust license in Nevada, but we are also working on other licenses at the same time. So that would be on our pipeline, but not in the current situation.
All right, so you're cut off from China. You're hoping to get business in the United States. So currently, where are you seeing your clients in terms of where's the most activity coming from? What geography, what countries?
Currently, our client is mainly from Asia and Europe, especially for the ones that have the Asian presence. So we're looking to explore more mainly in the institutional client aspect, because the institutional client, we can see that they have an increase in the crypto adoption substantially since last year. 80% of the borrowers in the crypto lending market is contributed by the institutions. That is the main target of our like new lending business.
And when you say Asia, obviously that doesn't include China, but I guess which countries are you talking about?
So, not mainly China, but we include Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is like the financial center in Asia, so we can access to various kind of the clients in the whole Asia aspect. So we can have like a client in all the clients in the region, as long as they have the presence in Hong Kong.
Okay. Victor, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your insights. That was Huobi Brokerage Director Victor Hui. Coming up, the Sotheby's metaverse and the aftermath of Constitution DAO, plus our global policy and regulation update with CoinDesk's Nick Day.
Hi, I'm Teresa Santos, Technical Director here at CoinDesk, and you're watching CoinDesk TV.
Welcome back. Time to check in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who's also the editor of CoinDesk's The State of Crypto newsletter. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
All right, so the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency published its semi-annual risk report yesterday, detailing some digital assets as potential cause for risk. What can you tell us?
Yeah, the OCC published its report, publishes every fall and spring, and this last report from yesterday had an entire section on digital assets, which in and of itself, not the first time digital assets came up, but just the fact that there is an entire section is pretty interesting. It kind of illustrates just how much attention either the OCC is paying attention, or paying to this industry, or could even reflect how much attention banks are paying, and could be reflecting questions that the OCC has been receiving from the institutions it regulates. There was an entire section, multiple times emphasized that banks should be talking to their supervisors at the OCC before they try to provide things like custody services or third-party access. If they're facilitating crypto transactions for their clients, and just really mentioned that there are potential risks involved in this industry, and banks should be well aware and careful about that.
Any mentions of stablecoins?
Nothing like what we've seen from other regulators.
Interesting.
Also, any word on Craig Wright, Nick?
So it looks like right now what's happening is in Palm Beach County, there is another lawsuit involving not Craig Wright explicitly, from what I understand, but Ira Kleeman, the plaintiff in the Kleeman versus Wright lawsuit. Ira Kleeman is being sued by Craig Wright's ex-wife on allegations that he did not have controlling interest in the company W&K Info Defense Research, which was another one of the plaintiffs. And so this is where things kind of get a little weird, legally speaking. Basically, if Craig Wright's ex-wife wins that particular lawsuit, then the $100 million the jury awarded W&K will go to Craig Wright's ex-wife rather than Ira Kleeman or the estate of Dave Kleeman. We'll be keeping an eye on that, but that case had been stayed pending the outcome of the Kleeman versus Wright case. So TBD on when that will restart.
Nick, real quick, we have an important hearing tomorrow. Several major U.S. exchanges are going in front of Congress. Any quick updates on that?
So the hearing memo is out now, and it basically just kind of discusses everything that the House Financial Services Committee has been doing this past year around crypto. Nothing new or unexpected. It looks like the focus will be on what sort of regulatory framework might make the most sense. But I think what we're really looking for is what kind of questions are being asked, and also who asks them. Which lawmakers will show up and ask questions at this hearing, because it is the end of the year, and so whatever this hearing signifies, we're not going to have anything more until next year, most likely.
All right, Nick, thanks for keeping an eye on DC for us and other policy and regulation. Don't forget to sign up for Nick's The State of Crypto newsletter on CoinDesk.com.
The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
The traditional art market is continuing the trend of capitalizing on the NFT space. This week, the Sotheby's metaverse is auctioning generative art, specifically 10 Chromie squiggles by an artist called Snowfro. Joining us now is Michael Bouhanna, Deputy Director at Sotheby's. Hello there, Michael. So Miami Basel just ended, a traditional art fair where one of the highlights was the number of NFT exhibitions on display. Anything surprising that you came away with? And how does generative art fit into the picture?
So generative art is certainly one of the most important movement within the NFT space. And actually it's a movement that is quite interesting because it exists since decades, from the 1960s, but it really had a revival with the NFT technology. I think mostly because now generatists are able to market and show their work in their native state. And so we've seen some very important projects, including this Chromie Squiggle, really leading the NFT space. And we are extremely exciting. We just started yesterday at this auction. That's we sell for the first time actually 10 unminted Chromie Squiggles. So it was for us to really put the light on this process of minting. And when actually the buyer or the viewer becomes an actor in the artistic process, because he's the one reliving the actual work that he will receive. So it's we've seen a great excitement already, with the bid already at 190,000, and we expect a lot of more bids coming in the next 6 days.
So you being in Miami Basel and talking to folks in the traditional art space, what did you come away with coming out of Art Basel? Are they interested in this?
Yes, I think it was great to see actually some NFT exhibition sales, the whole NFT world being very involved within Art Basel. And I've seen from all our NFT traditional clients that it helps actually getting them to understand and to get familiar to this new art form. It's still I think it's still very early, and there is still some work to do to either convert them or that they have a great understanding of what's an NFT and what artistic or historic value it could have. But it's with events like this alongside the traditional art fairs or and art weeks that we can see this evolving the right way.
Michael, good morning. We had, of course, a sell-off in the cryptocurrency markets that had an effect on the NFT market to some degree. Is there a concern that this kind of volatility that we're finding in the NFT markets might bleed into what's going on in the traditional art market, as there is more of a convergence between NFTs and traditional art auctions?
I think it's very correlated, and indeed, like the NFT market can fluctuate depending on the crypto market. But at the same time, like at Sotheby's, like all our sales have give the opportunity for our buyers to pay in USD. And actually, we've seen a great amount of buyers, including like in our last natively digital, that we sold 50 works for a total of 18 million, and half of it were actually paid in USD. So it's potentially clients who are not really affected or concerned by the value of the ETH or another crypto. So I think there will be with time, it will take time, but maybe the NFT as a digital art will become a bit more detached to the crypto world.
So one of the most famous art NFT sales was this Constitution DAO, which made a lot of headlines. And as we know, the DAO did not actually get a copy of the Constitution. Just sort of looking back on that episode, were there any lessons learned? Was there anything that the DAO could have done differently?
I think it's really interesting, and we see like a new type of collectors, basically. Like we've seen, like in our traditional world, we have like foundations, museums acquiring works in our sales, and here the DAO are a great way, I think, to bring people together around one objective. And it was amazing to see like all the excitement around pooling money in order to acquire this constitution, this very historic document. And it was a very interesting battle between Ken Griffin and the DAO. And it tells a lot, I think, of how the crypto world is entering the traditional art or the traditional market. We have it's still like we're still working on how to onboard the DAOs, because there are some challenge in terms of compliance, legal, etc. But there is some improvement there.
In planning and in terms of what's next for your auctions, is there any type of NFT or anything of interest that Sotheby's is looking at now as maybe the next big thing in the NFT market?
Yeah, so we are very focused on the high end of the market, which is actually our core business. It's to focus, to bring into market some very rare and unique works that you can't find anywhere else in the NFT space, in other marketplaces. And for example, this is what we do with the 10 unminted Chromie Squiggle. This is the very first time some unminted Chromie Squiggles come up for sale at auction, and it won't happen anytime soon. So it's a very rare and great opportunity for any collector to acquire this historic project. In the next sales, we'll try to always, as we do for all our past sales, to focus on straightening this bridge between the traditional art world and the NFT space in order to educate a wider audience to it, and to continue to demystify some aspect of the NFT world. Here, we want to demystify what is minting. To be created actually the moment the work is minted. And in our last natively digital sale, the collectors, last October, we wanted to demystify the profile of these top collectors leading the space and what's their background, etc. And so continuing to do some sales like this, we should be able in a more mid-term, long-term to have a better understanding and maybe some strong interest from our traditional collectors for NFTs.
Michael, I was really interested in what you had to say about Constitution DAO and the battle between the DAO and Ken Griffin. And I was wondering, what was the reaction from Ken? Because, a lot of these folks involved in the Constitution DAO are in crypto because they want to find an alternative way, escape, if you will, traditional institutions. And yet the institutions in this case won. So what was the reaction?
I think what I've seen from the NFT space and on social media reacting is that they've seen that really as a competition, as you said, between institution and a DAO and the crypto world. But at the same time, I think it shows like Ken Griffin is a great collector and is chasing one of the most important documents. So it's not the most historic document, so it's not surprising. But it was great to see, and it's a first step, I think, in DAO and like starting to maybe collect some of the most important objects that exist.
The Constitution was valued at around 20 million. It racked up over 40. Do you think without the publicity of the Constitution DAO that it generated, it would have amounted to that huge amount?
It's difficult to say, because when you bring such an iconic and a rare object into market, the estimate is based on previous sales, and the scarcity is growing since every sold similar works is off the market usually. So it was really like. It was very difficult to put like a very precise estimate on it. So I think the 20-30 million was conservative, but at the same time, I do agree that the noise the DAO made around this object, like was at the end part of the history of this document and will continue to be attached to it.
So there's kind of an interesting culture clash here, because Sotheby's very much represents the sort of high-end luxury art buyer market, and yet NFTs are sort of this like decentralized, young, hip, collectors. So, but in your experience, who is actually buying these NFTs?
So it's like when we've done like our first natively digital sale in June, it was really for us. We've done a retrospective of the NFT sale, and it was for us to put the baseline of what movement we see, like what are like from the very first NFT ever minted, and then unfolding like all the different movements. And we've observed from the bidders and the buyers that 70% were new to Sotheby's, which is like maybe a greatest number for any of our sales. But what's more interesting, I think, is that 30% of the buyers were actually existing clients to Sotheby's, which means that we did converted some existing and traditional collectors into the NFTs. It's a long process. Again, it's really a one-to-one educational. Like we need to explain them how to set up a MetaMask wallet, how to also what to do after they bought an NFT. That the main question they might have, because they used to enjoy the work physically in the physical world, but here there is a new appreciation of this new art form. So it's an education that takes time, but we are with a number of sales and educational program, we are I think going the right way.
All right. Well, this auction coming up, Chromie Squiggles by Snowfro, is up for auction. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us. That was Michael Bouhanna, Deputy Director at Sotheby's. All right, that's it for First Mover. Thank you, Emily Parker and Lawrence Lewitton. I'm your host, Christine Lee. I'll be back live at 3 p.m. with All About Bitcoin. And coming up at noon are our favorite folks from the hash. You're watching CoinDesk TV.